Our work at Healthy Acadia is always done through togetherness. We partner with individuals, municipalities, organizations, and businesses to build health access and help all people and our communities thrive. None of this work is done by us alone. For success, it has to be done creatively, with everyone bringing their skills to the table to help one another and to continue to strengthen our amazing region. In 2021, as part of Healthy Acadia's 20th year anniversary celebration, we undertook to celebrate Down East community health champions with the creation of this film, Together, Community Health Champions. To highlight how each of us play a role, we held a Washington and Hancock County-wide community nomination process, and 6 wonderful, diverse people were selected as community health champions for having gone above and beyond the call of duty to address the health challenges we face and to help all people thrive. They are a retired police officer, a gardener, an advocate for our immigrant community, an environmentalist, a teacher, and a health educator. Our goal with this film is to build regional health equity by sharing the stories of these individuals' amazing contributions and to showcase our collective ability to build community health together. We hope you feel as inspired by their stories as we do.
Dottie was the perfect bridge between the community and the police department. You know, she's so respected as an officer. She's so embedded in the Ellsworth and Hancock County communities. People know her, they trust her, she's straightforward, she's, I don't know, she's just such a no-nonsense, but also really compassionate person.
I was working in a pharmacy. I'd been there for almost 10 years. And I started an advertisement for a police dispatcher. And that had always fascinated me. We always had scanners and things like that growing up. So I applied for it and I got it. And I was a dispatcher for 4.5 years. And there was an officer getting done and the chief said, would you consider applying for this job? And it fascinated me and I said yes. So I applied and went through the whole process and got hired. And loved every minute of it.
Maine has been very hard hit by the opioid epidemic. I don't think you can find a person anywhere in Washington or Hancock counties at this point who hasn't been personally affected.
So Project Hope is a police initiative that allows folks to come into the police department who are suffering and need assistance with getting addiction treatment. And so they come into the police department and there's no threat of any sort of prosecution.
When someone walks into the police department, they do an application and then the police department calls Healthy Acadia and we assign an angel. So an angel is a volunteer and they help them to find treatment.
Basically, it was my job to make sure that the client was greeted, that a police officer talked to them. We made them feel comfortable and at home. So dealing with the client one-on-one. Also being involved with getting the angels to come in, getting someone, a recovery coach later on.
Without any question, the program would never have been successful as it has been over the last several years here in Ellsworth, because she did all of the training and the work with those angels and kept the angels engaged in order to facilitate the program in its early stages.
What brought me joy with Project Hope was seeing success. And success didn't have to be, you know, I'll never use drugs again. It was, I'm ready for help. I want to go to the hospital. That's success. I saw a former client that said, you know, and he had gone out and he had slipped again, But I saw him and he said, I've been clean for 12 days. And if you know me, Dottie, that's amazing for me to be clean for 12 days. I saw him a week later and he said, 19 days, Dottie, 19 days. So that is what gives you joy. Little steps.
And having Dottie be really the Project Hope champion and really supporting this in such a strong way, really was such a strong role model and mentor for other officers coming in. And seeing that support from Dottie modeled for them the importance of this program, right? And so it was a win-win, right? It was a win for the department. It was a win for the community.
Since her retirement, you know, she's moved on and she's become, she's very active in the school system, you know, which is a great opportunity for us to make. We do have a school resource officer, but it's always great to have additional resources.
I absolutely love substituting at the high school. I like the high school age kids, and I like the honesty of high school kids. The challenges now that I see with kids is vaping, and kids trying to quit and not being able to. I mean, you know, as well as I do, how difficult it is for someone whose brain hasn't developed yet that are already addicted to a substance to try to get off it. But I talk to them honestly about it. It's just part of my life now. I mean, I still have had people stop at my house, even after 4 years, and say, look, I need help. How can I do this? Or they send me a message on Facebook and say, what can I do? And my husband knows that supper may have to wait, or that, you know, he may have to let the dogs out or whatever, but I will help that person always.
We started as a migrant family working from different fields, different crops, and then working our way up. So we settled here in Millbridge, where we first landed, and that was back in 1998. Now my family owns a takeout restaurant here in Millbridge, Maine, as well as my parents also own, and with my brother, they also own an auto shop in town.
I went to school with Juana, worked with her, and she in general is just a great person. She has a wonderful plan, and when she has a goal, she has a mindset to fulfill that.
I think health involves overall health and the being of someone. So I think it kind of all, I think all of the services and everything we do impacts someone's health, from supporting them to be able in the childcare, supporting them to be able to access, go to their job and have a work. That overall impacts their health. Supporting them with security with food, it impacts someone's health. Supporting them to have access to services. Feeling that they're part of a community, I think is also part of someone's health. Mano a Mano started as an organization really with community members coming together and volunteers, really with no staff. It wasn't until after that Mano a Mano really started to have once integrating a staff and an executive director, really starting as an organization, really grassroots organization, to becoming more of a statewide supporting migrant families and immigrants. Around 2014, 2013, I started as a migrant parent with Mano a Mano in the program Comienza en Casa, Starts at Home. And it was a program to start supporting pre-K students prepare for kindergarten. And then that kind of inspired me to kind of continue. It inspired me to continue. One thing that I was hoping always to dream about is to get a support education and get a degree in the education field. So from there, I kind of went into that. And then as years went on, I kind of just continued to be really excited in the work that Mano a Mano did for the community and the community here as well. And being part of the community for many years, it kind of went in with what I was passionate about and what I wanted to do. And then now I'm the executive director of the organization.
My history with the community, sort of going back to 2010, so sort of started with having her kids at school, right? And just watching her leadership in the community sort of blossom over time, and her really stepping up to be a champion of this work in this community, and being willing to even venture into this realm of executive director leadership. That's a big and challenging step, and so I really love being able to support her in that role, watching her sort of grow and thrive, and I think she's going to be an incredible leader for this community.
Juana has worked at Mano and Mano forever. Ever since I've been doing my work, Juana has been at Mano and Mano. She's approachable, she's reachable, she's a great resource for the Latino community.
So housing is a big barrier and a challenge for families to find a home where they can settle in. Most of the migrant work families are coming into employer housing. So in order for someone to kind of be settled, there's like a connection to someone in that location that's already kind of can support. And I think that what was unique about Mano and Mano was that there were families already here and families kind of trying to settle into the town and in the community here.
And part of what the powerful work that Juana does with Mano and Mano is helping to ensure that migrant farm workers and immigrants to Down East Maine are connected to resources, opportunities, and community in ways that help them to overcome some of those obstacles and to thrive.
I feel like structural racism and discrimination, oppression, and kind of structural challenges that have been in place for many years. I feel like we're always kind of advocating and fighting for systemical change, and I think the more that we get allies and other organizations working alongside with us, I feel like some of those things can become easier.
I think part of what Juana is doing is really uplifting migrant and immigrant communities and elevating their status and recognition in our state, and helping all people to understand that they should be welcomed here, that they have so much to offer. They add so much value and vibrancy to communities across the state.
I always feel that there's opportunities every day to meet someone and build a relationship with someone. And then especially during the season when new families are coming in, but also families that have come here for years, and being able to welcome them into the area as they're coming in, and also welcome new people. So I feel like that to me is always really joyful and brings me joy as I'm in this position.
Ever since I was small, I've really enjoyed movement, whether it be in sport or dance, horseback riding, or just movement has always been my personal joy. And to be able to do that and help other people find that same joy it compounds it even bigger for me. When I first came on board at MDI Hospital as a community health educator, I immediately was plunged into this class that had already been established, this exercise class. The majority of the members of the class, and there's men and women, are probably in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. We even had one member who is now 102. Anyway, so the class was already well established, as was the walking group, and they were very excited to make sure that they could continue on. The Strong and Steady, we renamed it Strong and Steady, because we work on balance, we work on strength, we use weights, we work on mobility, but I think that probably the most important thing that we do is the socialization.
Physical activity doesn't have to be strenuous or very time consuming. You can get benefits by just going out in 10-minute increments throughout the day, like several times, to get 30 minutes a day of physical activity is a great recommendation.
We used to meet in person, so that immediately came to a stop, and we were all wondering how we would continue. Well, I managed to get it together enough to have a Zoom class set up within a week or so. But the very first day, I turn on the computer and open the Zoom class, and boom, there's 21 little faces all waving. sing. They were so happy, as was I, because everyone was isolated and it was a scary time.
During COVID, it was a godsend because sometimes it was the only other human contact I had during the day other than my son. It became like a support group and friends and lots of laughing, and that was very good for my health.
I think we all came to depend on each other for that socialization and for that connection. And so it's kind of grown even bigger. So now that we're on Zoom, we're no longer restricted with the amount of equipment that we might have in the room. Everybody's got their own equipment. And we can also include people from different states.
My name's Ginny. My mom, Sandy, is in this class. And she started taking the class when she was visiting me in Maine. I live in Maine, she lives in Ohio. She had back surgery and she started taking the class. She's never done an exercise class in her life, and Mary is the only person that can keep her doing an exercise class on her own several times a week. So it is all because of Mary that she's doing this class.
And that's very true. No Mary, no class.
I will say another program that has been able to not only continue but to expand has been our wellness walking program. Because we're outdoors, there's less of a contained space and there's less danger, even though we did mask initially and we distanced properly when we were walking. We're outdoors and we're able to still take advantage of our incredible backyard. This Acadia is a fantastic resource. So a lot of the programs that the hospital offers can overlap. So I'll not only be able to help a person with the diabetes prevention, but they can also take class with me if they want to, or they can join the walking program if they want to add to that. I teach a Parkinson's exercise class, which is really incredible. I did some training with Power for Parkinson's in Texas, and I love my job.
The mental health aspect of it, I think, is as great as the physical health. And I don't think I know anybody who comes with more enthusiasm and energy and spark than Mary brings to this.
It's not super duper important that we do exactly the same moves at exactly the same time with exactly the same beat. So there's quite a bit of interpretive dance going on. And when the class gets to the point where they feel comfortable enough just to express themselves, I often say it's just about wiggling around for an hour. We just want to wiggle as much as possible, wiggle on. And it's rewarding, it's very rewarding.
My name is Dwayne Shaw. I'm the Executive Director of the Down East Salmon Federation, and I've been doing this work since 1987 in Washington County. I came to Maine to fish and hunt, and I decided to get a degree at the same time. So I found a place for myself employed as an environmental scientist and a fisheries biologist. And Eastern Maine's the best place to do that in New England by a long margin, because of the amount of intact watersheds that we have. But there's a lot of work to do. I was always particularly interested in involving youth and the community, so we call it co-management with the community, between the agencies, the communities, the individuals, the conservation groups like the Fish and Game Clubs and so on.
Dwayne is so accessible to the community and to people in general. He just is comfortable striking up conversations. He lives the life that Washington County residents live. He loves hunting, he loves fishing. And I think he has one of those rare attribute of being able to meet people where they are, find a balance in protecting resource, protecting the salmon populations, doing things to restore their habitat, and still meeting the hard places in that conversation that can happen with organizations and other interests and stakeholders.
In Dwayne's work, he's really demonstrated that a healthy river doesn't just mean that salmon live there. It means that the people who use the river for their livelihood or for recreation, whether they dig clams or worms, they can prosper. And those who offer or enjoy recreational activities like the swimming, boating, hiking, tours, they can also do those things because the river ecosystems are healthy and the water's clean.
You know, the conservation work that's being done in this region and really all over the world is trying to connect people to place in some parts, some elements of the work is keeping quality of place in mind and particular heritage to place, and that often translates into food and healthy lifestyles. Self-provisioning, people call it. There's all kinds of words for this. So local food has a smaller ecological footprint typically. We're not transporting lettuce from California if you can grow your own lettuce, or if you can eat fish from your local river that's clean or the ocean, then it's just that much healthier for you and the place. And that requires certain skills and awareness, and not everybody is, we're not born with that. We have to learn it, and we're taught how to eat a fish with bones, for instance. People are not familiar with how to catch a fish or clean a fish or prepare it in so many multitudinous ways, right? There's so many ways that you can do that. And those are all connected to place and what's available seasonally and all those things.
I feel that some kids are growing up without access to the traditional foods that their grandparents grew up with. So for example, smelts. One of the reasons why the Down East Salmon Federation created the smelt fry, as far as I can see and understand, is to just reconnect people to a traditional food that their elders used to always eat. It's important because the food that is right here is free. It's available for all of us.
I call this the perpetual motion machine. So the river that's right here is in perpetual motion. And in that river are fish that are moving seasonally back and forth. And all we have to do is stay out of their way, essentially. And we can understand how to glean part of that, harvest part of that to sustain ourselves and our communities.
So Jeff, to me, is first and foremost a neighbor. He's just what you think of when you think of a wonderful, friendly neighbor. That's Jeff Milliken. I work with him most directly through the gleaning program. Incredible produce every summer, and donates that to the Gleaning Initiative, and then we send that food to local food security programs. So he's an excellent partner. He grows a wide variety of food for someone who has just a home garden. He does it all on his own.
One of my favorite activities is to cook and feed people. And since I like feeding people, I thought maybe I should grow my own food. And then in preparation for retirement, I learned that there's a Master Gardener program, and I decided that upon retiring I would apply for the Master Gardener program. This wonderful woman named Marjorie Paronto, who has been teaching Master Gardener courses for 30 years, and I was fortunate enough to be accepted to her course in the 2016 year. And while working there, I met Dorcas Coro, who has a garden that's much bigger than mine. And working with Dorcas and 7 or 8 other people, we grow 2,000 pounds of food to give away on Mount Desert Island every year. And I only give away this garden. But I think the nucleus of my adventure started with Marjorie, who's an amazing lady, and she's responsible for a lot of successes around here. I'd be happy to make 1,000 pounds to give away every year. My record has been 1,200 pounds. But if I make 900 this year, that'll be okay with me. It's a good contribution.
The contributions that Jeff makes to the Gleaning Initiative and to food access programs through his garden are just so incredible and so impactful. He grows food at his beautiful garden, distributes it to the Gleaning Shed in Blue Hill, and it goes out to organizations across the Blue Hill Peninsula, the Magic Food Bus, the Simmering Pot Meal Site, the Tree of Life Food Pantry. And sometimes there's so much produce donated that our gleaning coordinator, Rachel, brings it to Ellsworth and distributes it to other organizations across Hancock County. All of that produce is going to food access organizations and reaching people directly who don't always have access to healthy produce, who can't always buy it in the grocery store or at the farmer's market. So he's making fresh, beautiful, healthy produce available to all people, regardless of their income or whatever their situation is that's leading them to access food in a food pantry. They should have healthy choices there, and Jeff is helping to make that possible.
Yeah, at harvest time, it gets heavy. Harvesting 40 pounds of carrots at a time, and then 25 pounds of tomatoes, and zucchini and cucumbers are my biggest weight crop, and so I'm always taking big bins of those things into the Magic Food Bus.
So gardeners like Jeff really make an impact because they add some tomatoes, some cucumbers, they really mix things up, and that variety is really meaningful and important for one's health if you're shopping at a food pantry. And for a free meal program, on the other hand, having free, incredible, nutritious produce for them to cook with and turn into meals for people is really important because they have small budgets, and then that allows them to really make amazing meals.
The other chapter of my food life is the Loaves and Fishes food pantry in Ellsworth, where I now volunteer 2 days a week, basically stocking shelves and meeting lots of old friends, because the people who go to that food pantry, many of them were my patients. They're now grown-ups and they say things like, "Dr. Milliken?" And I say, "Yeah." I remember them. It's amazing. Just love the people here. I think being a neighbor is like being a family member.
Jeff's just everywhere. He's what you think of, when you think of someone who's a real member of their community, an active member of their community. That's Jeff Milliken.
I knew I was going to be a teacher at a very young age. What really kicked it in for me was my 4th grade teacher, though. She was such an inspiration to me, and she was like this role model that I knew I would want to aspire to at one point in my life. So
Marnie's a strong advocate. She's not afraid to put her voice forward and let people know what she thinks, and also not only her voice, but also put it into action. The Winter Kids program, which is a statewide program in Maine to encourage kids to get outside and be active in the winter. And it's a really cool program because the schools kind of adopt that they want to do it. And it's, again, a school-led program, and Winter Kids is providing support and providing activities, but the school is really coming together to do it.
we would get outside, and it was hard because we didn't have a lot of snow, but we tried really hard. The town pond was frozen over, so we got ice skates, and every kid in the school went ice skating. So we went down over the course of, I think, 2 or 3 days. Different groups went down, and all the kids got to ice skate on the town pond, which was amazing. We had a family fun night where we had different activities going on outside, painting in the snow, sliding. And inside we had like making bird feeders and just different things that we wanted to do with the parents.
And like, I'm just like picturing they had a parade and they had like their symbol was a lobster. Let's get cracking, Jonesport, because it was like the lobster. And so just a lot of joy, especially during a hard time. I mean, it's a long winter, you know, people aren't working, people are inside. So it was a great thing to do.
The whole thing was amazing. So you have to work towards getting a certain 4 on everything, and then you have to get bonus points, and we ended up getting 2 of the bonus points, so it put us ahead of other schools. And they presented us with the $10,000 check, and Gina Carver, her and I were the buddies that did it. She and I were just like, oh my word, we won. We couldn't believe it, we won. We were told like a Friday, you know, Monday kids are coming half a day, and then we're gonna make a plan for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks turned into the rest of the school year, and it was hard not to have that closure with the kids. I kept in touch with them though. Luckily we had our like Google Classroom and things like that, but nothing's the same.
You know, COVID was just an interesting time, right? And you know, Marnie during the COVID time was also championing like creating a parade with all the teachers and doing a scavenger hunt. And really, I also think of that when I think of Marnie as the ways that, you know, didn't miss a beat during COVID, and really use that as an opportunity to look at how to keep engaging students in community.
So one of the things that I would do with my class last year when we had to stay 6 feet apart is I made one of my school supplies a camping chair, and we would go outside and set up a circle, and we would have 6 feet between us, and we would do read aloud, we would do social studies, we would do writing, we would do reading, we did things outside. So that was huge.
We received 2 grants. One grant was to build a chalkboard out on the trail, and my dad built that. He's a carpenter. So he built a wonderful chalkboard to have an outdoor classroom there. We walked the trail. My class went and researched different things. One was like sundews, one was marshes, another one was like skunks. I mean, just different topics that we saw around the trail. And we created posters, and then the Maine Outdoor School came and we set them up along the trail.
Teachers have been so instrumental in promoting resilience for students. They always have been, and during the pandemic, they've gone above and beyond.
Just getting the kids active, getting them aware of what they're doing. One of the activities for winter kids was to drink more water, and so the janitor was like, I'm going through so much water, I don't know if we'll make it to the next delivery, but you know, so just having them aware of drinking and how much drinking water felt good. They had more energy, they could pay attention in class. And just being active, getting outside, seeing the kids have fun, seeing the teachers have fun is just important. And they can come in and focus so much better after doing all of that. So I felt it's really important to keep those going.
Because it's community-led, I just think her influence, it's hard to track, right? Because she's a mom of daughters that go to the school. She's the coach for her kids' teams when they don't have coaches. She's the teacher and is teaching and supporting her kids to learn. She's the PTO person and supporting teachers to feel seen and heard and welcome and bridging that school-home connection. She's championing active lifestyles through field day and, you know, the winter kids. So I think that web of just who she is and what she represents in the community is really important.
Incredible. We hope you enjoyed the stories of these 6 community health champions. Each of these individuals saw a need, and they took the action to help their community in ways that fit their circumstances, interests, and skills. We all do this in different ways, big and small. We at Healthy Acadia invite you to continue increasing access to health resources and building health and resilience together with us and with your families, neighbors, co-workers, children's schools, or wherever you find an opportunity to do so. We look forward to celebrating health successes, continuing conversations about and actions to address health challenges and inequities, demonstrating kindness and respect for those we serve, and building access to health resources for all across our region. We do this all together with health champions like you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you.